I could see my life falling through my hands. I could see it literally seeping through my fingers. People told me so many times, Nick, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, and I just couldn't. I couldn't stand the pain of reality. And the only thing that I knew that would stop that pain was my drugs. It opens up a spiritual wound in yourself when you take drugs. It just does. It's something that I know. There is a whole different level that goes with it, and you open doors, and it's there to ruin your life. As time went by, the problem grew and grew and grew and grew, and I started doing harder and harder and harder drugs, and I got myself into a stage where I was completely addicted and completely lost in it, and I'd lost all control over myself and it kind of turned into this person that I never thought I'd be. I'd always imagined that life would go a certain way, and I'd be married and have 2 children and have a respectable job, and I had all that. But my life had just been taken over by, I don't know, I think in a way trying to fill this gap with a substance that I didn't have in my life, and I had something lacking inside of me, and I was looking for love in all the wrong places. I was looking, for love and acceptance from external sources, and the worse the drugs got, of course, the worse my marriage got, and I ended up really destroying everybody that ever loved me or ever cared about me. So I do the drugs and then go home and try and be the father and the breadwinner, and then you start leading this double life, and it's a life of lies, and your relationship just can't last like that. And the worse the relationship got, the less acceptance I got at home, the more acceptance I went to go find out at bars and clubs, and I started doing drugs to get the acceptance from people, because otherwise people wouldn't like me, otherwise people wouldn't accept me for who I am. And my wife found out about the drugs, and our bad marriage went from bad to worse, and she ended up leaving me. I went down to stay with my dad and my brother, and they put up with me for about 3 months, and then they kicked me out. And I'll never forget sitting on the side of a road, and I'd stayed in a hotel, and I'd been there for one night, and I had about enough money for 2 more nights in the hotel, but I had nowhere to go, and I was in the middle of Durban on my own at the bottom. I'd lost control of my life, and there was a Bible next to my bed, and so I picked up the Bible and I started reading it, and I'd been to Sunday school and I knew the stories, but it had never got inside my heart. And for 2 nights I stayed in a hotel room, didn't move, just read a Bible and prayed and wrote, and I really turned to God for the first time. I made a deal with him, and I said to him, I'll give you my life for a year. If you can do everything that you say in your word, I've got nowhere else to do. I didn't have much to bargain with, but I said to him, if you can do something in my life in a year, I'll give you the rest of my life. And I think that's where he really took over. My life changed from that point, because God had moved from my head to my heart, and I really started getting the love of Jesus, and that God really loved me. And when you get that love, when you get that acceptance from God, you're able to stand, and it doesn't matter how far you'd been. I'll never forget the first day I walked up the stairs to church at the Dominion, and when I walked in here, my life it was just like I fitted. I just became part of this church. I walked up and there were people at the door who were so friendly and just welcomed me into church, and I got connected and got into sports life and got into serving on team, and my whole life just took a complete turn. And I found people here that offer me leadership and offer me direction, and when I'm going through a tough time, they come alongside me and stand beside me and talk to me, and I can be completely open and honest with them. All my life I'd hidden things from people, but here I was in a home where people accepted me for who I was. Instead of the partying guys who I had to go out and go and get drugs and go and perform like a monkey to impress, these guys just accepted me for exactly who I was. They loved me for who I was, and they loved me for what God saw in me. That acceptance of my brothers in the church was just something that I hadn't found anywhere else, and that it was okay just to be me, that it wasn't a problem just to be me. I'd read in the Bible so often Jesus restores, and Jesus heals your heart, and Jesus binds your wounds, and he really does. I don't know how he does it, I don't know what he does, but I can tell you from my life that is so true.